in the end, it was really about ongoing support. And the other thing was, very often we were the net. We were the net that caught what these amazing creators forgot about. When those ad campaigns didn't quite promise what the product holds, that's when we came in, and we had to kind of clean that up in a lovely and very nice way. Fast forward another 10 years, and I was sitting in an even shinier office in London, and I was looking after a very large consumer good company, and I was leading the digital marketing for quite a lot of their brands. And what we did, yes, you can't judge me, we created microsites, and we created tons of them. Tons and tons and tons. I actually don't know how many anymore, and that's a good thing. We created them and then immediately forgot about them. We just did it. It was out, and for years I had this secret little hobby of checking in whether those microsites still existed. I loved it. I actually wanted to do an art project from it, and then I forgot about it. And sure enough, there they were, floating in the internet like satellite debris in space, long after the actual products were taken off the shelf and discontinued. So for years you could find these amazing microsites of products that didn't exist anymore. And nobody cared, absolutely nobody cared. Because the heroes and fixers were the ones who were leading us through this wonderfully wild and turbulent world. And what then happened was, suddenly there was a new role. And there were these really wonderful, smart people coming in as information architects. Because suddenly brands realized, we need an ecosystem. Ecosystem was the word, everything was an ecosystem. And they tried to align all of their digital estate. So those poor people were sitting there, Excel sheets over Excel sheets, trying to find all of those different microsites that were scattered around the world. And it was a really, really hard work, catalyzing, connecting, or just fighting this commissioning. And although this work was fundamentally important, those people never saw the limelight. No board wanted to talk to them. I remember when our head of information architecture tried to get a space on the board. And the board was at that time already starting to talk about Oculus Rift. Well, you can imagine who got the board space. Can you imagine 15 men sitting there? We can either talk about information architecture, or we can talk about Oculus Rift. It was very clear which conversation was being prioritized. So questions like, who will be looking at this website once it's launched? What is happening with the content? Who's actually moderating this weird thing that is called social media? All of that was naysaying, and I hear it a lot of times. It was like, you're standing between us and innovation. And this one I'm really feeling very bad about, talking about imitation. So, at that time, for some reason, my boss managed to sell it to a brand that they should do a game. And it was the heydays of Farmville. And for some reason, somebody thought it was a great idea to develop a game for a fabric conditioner. Right? And they were completely convinced that that will get more people to buy fabric conditioners. That's a different story, but what was really interesting is that nobody of us actually realized what we were starting to do. We were all talking about creating something super shiny, something amazing. Nobody thought about releases. Nobody thought about maintenance. Now you can probably easily realize what happened. The game never really took off. We ran out of money. The client completely ran out of interest. And that was the lovely thing. The innovator, and I know this person still very well, managed to walk out, and they walked out before we went into delivery, and was seen as this amazing innovator. It never hit. You know, that person still is known for something like that, which I thought was wonderful. No envy here. In a world where the average tenure of a senior player in the industry is not more than 3 or 4 years, the pressure is high to make your mark in your organization. You can't possibly make your mark on somebody else's mark. That really isn't done, so you need to do a new mark, right? The last personal example that I want to talk about is actually the story of a BAU team, business as usual, maintenance team, as it was called in service agencies. And I was working with an agency at that time. We were working with a big global banking client, and the BAU team was wrangling every day